Give him the stick. Don't give him the stick. Oh.
I'm not gonna get any of your references from GI Joe, just so you know.
That's from like the GI Joe PSAs.
Yeah, I've seen some of the PSAs, but like I don't remember a lot of them.
Here's one. I'm a computer. Stop all the download.
I do remember that.
Of course, yeah. If you don't remember that one, I'd be worried.
Yeah, like
I'd
I've
be like,
never
"Are you having a
been
stroke?"
a huge GI Joe fan. Like I watched a little bit of one of the animated series
Yeah.
when I was a kid, but I've still missed out on like basically every movie they've made so far. But this says GI Joe the movie, so is this a new like a reboot?
No, this is the animated film from way back when.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, Nostalgia Critic. My bad.
Yeah.
Fuck, I missed that half of the title. Okay, so we're doing Nostalgia Critic.
So yeah.
I might have seen this at some point then.
Maybe.
Not this Nostalgia Critic, but the movie.
Yeah. So G.I. Joe.
It's been fucking forever. So
Yeah. At G.I. Joe. I remember when I was a kid, I had a G.I. Joe. It was like one of the little ones, like this tall. And I remembered it was part of my collection of toys that I would just like get in fights. Like I'd have the Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, and the VR Troopers on one side, and on the other side I'd have Bowser, I'd have Goldar, Rita Repulsa, and I have just all the bad stuff over on the other side, and they'd have to fight and come from behind victory and all that.
I don't think I ever had G.I. Joes, but I had Army Men.
Army Men, yeah, I remember them.
I was a huge fan of Army Men when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Especially like even though the games are pretty shit, like I actually played them and enjoyed them with my next door neighbor.
There was only one that I did like, and it was the Army Men Air Assault.
I think I played a little bit of that one. The Sarge's Heroes is the one we played the most of, though.
Sarge's Heroes is one. The second one was just terrible.
I've seen people replay Sarge's Heroes now that I'm an adult, and I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah.
I can't believe I liked that as much as I did.
Yeah. I remember the one part where you actually had to shoot the dog to keep it back.
Yeah, I don't remember at this point.
Because there was one part where you had to get through in order to get to the tan boss, like the tan general, who was like using the portals to get around and everything, and all of a sudden, like you hear the dog coming, you like hear the footsteps in the background. You had to turn around and shoot the dog enough to where it would eventually like leave, and then whenever it got to the end of the game and the final cutscene happened, it was just there was Sarge, and he was just like getting ready to shut down the last portal, and the Tan General tackles him, and the Tan General's just like, "Why can't you just let me win once? Why can't you let me win just one more time? Just one time." And then all of a sudden, Sarge looks behind the General, and he's like, "Come here, boy." And here comes the dog. The dog walks up to the Tan General, picks him up and chews him up, and starts to eat him. And then Sarge hops through the portal and blows it up at the last second. It's just like, wow. This game was dumb. But still, I found some of it pretty funny.
Yeah.
I forget, how many Army Men video games were there, dude?
There were several.
I know that...
But, I remember the gunshot sounds were some of the dumbest sounding gunshot sounds. And, the controls suck. Real bad.
Huh?
And the controls suck real bad.
They did. They sucked terribly.
Because, like, it was basically just, like, you rotated, and, like, you always fired from the hip, I believe.
Yeah.
Unless you, like, actually pressed a button to, like, go into first person and have a little, like...
Reticle.
Reticle, but you couldn't move while you shot, I don't think.
Yeah, you had a limited range of motion.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, if they were to... Okay, if there were a modern-day company that could go back and redo those games and actually do them good...
It could be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, here's one thing that I don't get. Why do people remake video games? I can understand whenever it's like Resident Evil or for some stuff like that. But games nowadays that have very, very good control... Symphony of the Night. There was talk of them doing a full remake of Symphony of the Night.
It was like, you don't even really need to that much. Like,
not really.
Kind of cool to see it like polished up and graphics like upgraded and stuff. But
yeah, but
it's still fucking fun the way it is.
Yeah, and
same as Super Metroid. Like, I would love to see like Super Metroid put into like 2.5D or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
with like good 3D
give them pretty
models
much a
and
Samus
graphics
Returns
and
treatment.
Yeah, basically.
I'd like to see that too.
Doesn't need it at all because I'll still play it the way it is.
Oh yeah, same
It's
here.
awesome.
And for me, whenever I see them remake video games that are already great, I think to myself, how about we actually remake video games that had a neat concept, but the execution wasn't the best.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, I'd like to see an update to the original Persona, like, because playing the original Persona is a slog.
Yeah.
I would love to see them do an update to it that makes it more like the Personas that we have now, like Persona 4 and 5.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to see that.
I mean, one of the things that is kind of that way is actually getting a remake that I'm excited about is Medieval.
Oh, dude, yeah, Medieval. Yeah. I'm glad that they're doing that because
I used to really like that game, but going back and trying to play it now is real hard because the controls aren't good.
Yeah, and that's one thing about... Oh, yeah, here we are in a conversation about video games, and we're trying to talk about G.I. Joe.
Right.
Good God. We can't shut the hell up. All right, well, let's get the video on screen, and let's see what old Dougie Boy's got to say about G.I. Joe, the movie. Here we go.
Should just have a little counter at the bottom of the screen so every time I go off topic during the video. It's just like, pop, pop.
Hello on the nostalgia.
As we go farther off topic.
Remember it so you don't have to. I want to talk about the G.I. Joe movie.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no current tie-in, nobody asked for it. I don't really have any reason. I just want to talk about this awesome 1987 cinematic nonsense. Is that so wrong? No, Joe! Based on the popular Army toy line turned later into a hit 80s cartoon, G.I. Joe followed the adventures of Duke and his team of soldiers fighting the terrorist organization Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when terrorists were snakes.
Yeah.
I miss snake terrorists. As their popularity grew more and more, even to the point of recruiting wrestlers into their lineup.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Slaughter here, and it does me proud to be part of the G.I. Joe team for 1986.
86, 80 shit, you are always G.I. Joe! They decided to go to the big screen with G.I. Joe the movie. It was basically Team America for kids, so no swearing or face shitting. But just as much America! Is it everything you'd expect it to be? Hell yeah! Is it any good? Hell no! But I don't want good, I want hell yeah! This is G.I. Joe the movie.
Fair enough.
It opens with what I can only describe as the most Americanly violent intro a kid's film could throw at you. The Statue of Liberty is under attack because crashing through the sky comes the fearful cry of Cobra. And if you doubt that, the 80s sing it!
Crashing through the sky comes a fearful cry, Cobra.
Cobra!
Oh, Lord.
I love that one guy echoing Cobra in the
This,
background. Like he got lost from the group and is trying to call for him.
This is something that looks way better on paper, I bet.
I bet.
Cobra! Cobra!
Who invited Bertie Sanders to sing backup on this? Or is that Gilbert Gottfried? I'm sorry, I get them
It could
confused.
be Gilbert, yeah. I think it sounds more like Gilbert, actually.
It does. It does. What's up, dude?
Send them to G-rated hell! Oh my god, this is way too much America to take in for only 1 minute. I need to calm down with some Canadian. Okay, continue. Look at this. It's the most amazing opening ever. Everybody is shooting, everybody is flying with fire, and all around Lady Liberty while an 80s theme song plays.
Cobra Commander.
If the American flag could lift a tank and eat bullets, this is the movie it would do it in. The animation is
Or was that
spectacular.
Destro?
Every moment leaping off the screen in a blaze of glory. This is the kind of military porn Michael Bay wishes he could make.
Yes, it is.
Instead of,
Call it an homage, sir.
A what?
oh, shut the hell up and play my jam! Oh, and you think CGI Tobey Maguire posing in front of the American flag is iconic? Pussy pansy piss! We have Duke picking up the American flag, rocket packing it to the sky, following him all the way up the Statue of Liberty, and planting it on her head with his team while cheering to their 80s theme song.
Nice.
All you need is a Trump tweet saying he doesn't like it, and it'll be the most American thing in the world.
America.
America indeed. I'm a nostalgia critic, I remember, so you don't have to.
Doug. Get back here. Doug!
Oh, that's right, there's more! Sorry, it totally could have stopped there and I would have been 100% satisfied. The film opens with the evil Cobra. Boo! As the metal-faced Cobra commander is being talked to by the head of Cobra, Serpentor. Oh my god.
Blunderers! Fools!
I so miss snake terrorists. He looks like a python choking on Archer. And what's with the snakes on his side? Is it like one snake human centipede together? I have so many questions about these fashion choices.
Your collective incompetence! Hogwash! Your leadership has been pompous, pusillanimous, pathetic!
Oh, and for those unfamiliar, there's nothing wrong with your computer. That is what he actually sounds like.
Yep.
And yes, you're allowed to laugh at it all you want. We have for years.
Go ahead, make me the scapegoat.
Cobra Commander looks for people to back up his claims of Serpentor's incompetence, but they stab him in the back.
Buffoon! What? Inexcusable! Unsubstantiated fantasy!
You're just jealous I do a better Rita Repulsa than half the women here!
But someone breaks into Cobra headquarters, a deadly snake knockoff of Shiva known as Pythona. Can we just call these people what they are? Snake Thundercats? She shows them
Thunder,
a powerful
thunder,
device known as the
thunder, thunder,
Broadcast
snake.
Energy Transmitter. A device G.I. Joe has that can transmit pure energy anywhere in the world.
Well, let's find out if we've wasted $1
up,
billion
Scarlet?
taxpayer dollars.
This country? Nah. Seeing how Pythona shows where it is, Cobra attacks trying to get their hands on it.
They're after the BET!
What will Croc watch in Suicide Squad now?
Get your ground! Not there! Here! No!
You know, I think everyone just needs a random Cobra Commander line generator app.
I sit down!
Serpentor does that thing James Earl Jones did in Conan the Barbarian. For a guy who likes snakes, he sure does abuse them a lot. But he gets launched into the device and knocked out.
Retreat! Cobra! Retreat! Cobra's through! What do we do? Anybody want a peanut?
They chase after Cobra, but they're attacked by henchmen from the Tick and are defeated.
Bravo! Bravo, dear friends!
Biatch!
Cobra Commander recognizes Pythona and panics.
No! No!
I need to escape! If only it would stop snowing! Oh, that works.
They bring him back though, and Pythona is now in command, demanding Cobra get Serpento back. But the Joes are concerned where their search team went. So they're ready to send their new recruits out into the field
The
and—
sooner they graduate, the sooner they can fight.
Oh no, they're gonna pull a Transformers movie on us, aren't they? They're gonna get rid of half the cast so they can introduce new characters. God help you if you destroy Sergeant Slaughter! Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. Maybe they're just extras for the mission. Nope, those are action figures. Just put their prices next to them right now.
Where is that gold-plated goof-off, Lieutenant Falcon?
Terrific question.
Man said he had...
No, I don't want to get to know you. The more I like you, the more I'm killing the original Joes. Something this franchise does very well.
Oh, that's right.
It's like Lieutenant Falcon, played by Nash Bridges himself, Don Johnson, is having trouble
Holy
leaving
shit.
his Miami Vice days behind him as he sneaks in a girlfriend to top secret areas.
Didn't it occur to you that a military prison is no place for a date?
I'll take the lady elsewhere, sir. Come on, babe. This is starting to get boring.
Oh, come on. It's not like she's a Cobra agent trying to get top secret information. She's all those things, isn't she? Well, this is why we have rules.
Nice legs for a grease monkey, soldier.
Falcon! Ow!
Want me to kiss it and make it better?
Okay, pick your lawsuit. There are at least 3 offenses in there.
Yeah.
But Cobra breaks in through the magic of ironic dialogue.
Suppose our mythical intruders did make it into Serpentor's cell block. they'd still have to blast through a couple of yards of super hard concrete. Then they'd have to get past 3 of our best guys.
And they help Serpentor escape.
Falcon, you deserted your post. You're confined to quarters until court-martial.
Oh, that poor groping man. And it's here that G.I. Joe, for lack of a better way of putting it, gets a little silly. Serpentor is taken to his true creator, a subterranean reptile man known as Globulus, voiced by Burgess Meredith. I have to say, for a man that played the Penguin, the world's oldest elf, and a fly, he once again gives 10 times more than what's required for a batshit crazy role.
I implanted the idea and the skill in Dr. Mindbender's rather pedestrian brain with this, a psychic motivator. It is our greater destiny which concerns me now.
How am I taking the king of the reptile people so seriously?
Because of
Mention
Burgess
his name
friggin' Meredith.
warrants an Oscar nomination.
Know that I am Globulus.
You see, I almost laughed at that and I didn't. I could play Jar Benson, I'd be amazing. Falcon
You're right,
be thrown
you
out of the
could.
Joes, but Duke.
Burgess Meredith is... I want someone to dub that now. I want someone to dub Jar Jar Binks as by Burgess Meredith.
That'd be pretty awesome.
I could imagine it. To be like... Could you... that one section where he steps in crap, and instead of going, oh, instead he just goes, ah, shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, ah, shit. Ah, it's the third time this week.
Steps in crap again.
I can see it now. Steps in crap, and he's just like, oh, God, I hate being the comedic relief. Don't do drugs, kids. You won't find me funny. Okay.
Being his half-brother, pleads with them to keep him around. Falcon shows his appreciation.
I don't need your help anymore, Duke.
Like a total jackass.
Get out of my life.
Falcon, Duke's trying to help.
By busting my chops every chance he gets.
I mean, constantly being told what to do? You treat me like I'm in the military! He's sent to what they call the slaughterhouse while Cobra Commander is being Cobra court-martialed himself. Being told pretty much out of nowhere the history of the reptile people.
40,000 years ago, the glory of Cobra La dominated this planet, but an age of ice destroyed much of what we had built.
It was a fast ice age of destruction, I guess most are. Mankind took over, leaving only a few reptile people left, and Cobra Commander being one of the reptile people becoming disfigured in a science accident. Nevertheless, he was put in charge of destroying mankind, but he failed, so he's given a spore that distorts him even more. Isn't that like giving ugly glasses to the Elephant Man? I think he's kind of used to it.
Ouch.
Thus, he's thrown in prison with the captured Joes. But not before he calls him a fool. I have no reason to bring that up. I just love hearing him say it.
Fool!
Break yourself!
While that's going on, Falcon is thrown into a punishment camp for misbehaving Joes ran by Slaughter! The only guy aside from Burgess Meredith who can make everything sound awesome!
You're going to war till you wish you were dead, and then keep going, because you're afraid if you don't, I won't let you die.
Look at this. He even has to say the line, itty bitty diddy bag. And by God, he makes it sound amazing.
On your feet like a man, or in a ditty bag. An itty bitty ditty bag.
Please, G.I. Joe movie, there's only so many lines I can program as ringtones. One of the Joes escapes Cobra Law, but gets blinded. So Cobra Commander has to lead the way out.
I can't see!
I'll be your eyes! Run!
Wonderful direction. Thanks, GPS. Commander loses his faceplate, revealing honestly exactly what you would imagine his face would look like.
Then let's move it!
Straight ahead! Come on, I'll sing for you! And I will always love you, fool!
Meanwhile, Slaughter's men are called in to infiltrate Cobra's forces.
Terrible.
Leave it as an extra rough training exercise.
Then why don't we leave our weapons behind and make it really educational?
Now that's what I call a challenge. No weapons.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Next, we're gonna play darts with no darts. Dying just builds character.
Welcome to the U.S. military. Where, for some reason, after you die, you get ranked up 2 levels. Imagine that happening every time you died in Call of Duty.
Right.
Yeah, every time you die in the battlefield, you rank up 2 times. Everyone would just be dying. They'd just be committing martyrdom.
Inside and try to contact G.I. Joe through Cobra's radio.
Come in, G.I. Joe.
Okay, is that a toy microphone or the tap you pull for Cobra beer? Falcon gets captured, though, and is questioned.
How many in your force? What is the purpose of your mission? You can't resist forever.
I think against your weak-ass slaps, he kinda can. But the other Joes save him and blow up the base, resulting in a big battle between the two armies. Is that the new battle cry? Okay.
I was about to say this is like the least evil interrogation scene I've
Reptilian
ever
technology is too much for them as
Bitch
Serpentor
slapping him
calls
over
out
and
to
over
the
again.
reptilian people.
The
I
fuck?
wish I was a fly on a wall when that was being recorded.
La 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 la.
I'm sorry. What the flying shit am I saying? A giant snake monster rises, honestly making me wonder why none of these things were ever used in the past. We'd all be singing Trust in Me if they used these things from day one. As
Damn.
Serpentor summons them via Warrior Princess sound again.
Cobra!
Just when I think that can't get any funnier, he goes total high-pitched scream on the last one. It's like Homer Simpson's scream took over at the end. Duke tries to save Falcon from Serpentor, who wants him to see how
La 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 la.
Arrogant Earth scum!
Duke.
No! Damn it, I told you this would happen!
Duke?
We're still getting over Optimus Prime, you a-holes!
But his sacrifice will be in vain! This I command!
They steal the BET, and Duke uses his final words to say goodbye.
Promise me you'll try to get your act together. Be a credit to your country.
I'll make you proud.
Earn this.
Thank you.
You'll see.
Yo,
No, Joe!
Bye, Duke.
No! Oh, Duke. You will be missed.
He's gone into a coma.
What?
Wait, what?
He's gone into a coma.
What?
You a doctor now? Would even a doctor know that? Is that the science of snake spears that stab you through the heart? Have you done a lot of research on this? Please tell me what level
Scarlet,
pissed off I'm supposed to be.
are you shitting me?
Actually, fun fact, Duke was supposed to die, but after the backlash of Optimus Prime getting killed in the Transformers movie, they backed out and threw in the totally nonsensical line about him going into a coma. Notice how you didn't see anyone's lips move when that was said?
He's gone into a coma.
It makes no sense. But Duke is still alive, sucking out like 90%
I was kind of like,
of
what's
the
wrong with
emotion
this
we're
movie? It
supposed to be
seems like
feeling
just
here.
badass so far. And now I'm like, there it is.
Huh?
So I was like, what? How many things are actually like super wrong with this movie? It just seems nonsensically badass. And then I was like, oh, there it is. There's the first really, really dumbass, stupid part.
He's probably coming back too.
Yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe, see you next season. Yo, Joe. Cobra plans to use the BET to launch pods that'll turn the world into reptile folk. But Joe seems to have located them.
General Hawk, I've identified an energy source.
Did he say energy sauce?
I've identified an energy source.
It's right next to the energy mustard and the energy relish.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
It's a
Flint and
Boston
Cobra
accent.
Commander find the other Joes and they try to help them stop Cobra's evil attack. Metroid and Nausicaa tourist traps try
Then
to
how did
stop
they say
them, but they
sauce?
approach the...
Then how did they
You know
say
what?
sauce?
It's the 80s. For all we know, this could have been...
Like if they were to ask me for some pasta sauce, how would they say that?
Well,
I
it's
may
the
not
same
think they
thing.
were saying
It's the same.
source.
It's the same argument. If you ask him for car keys while wearing their khakis.
Because of khakis.
Khakis. Can you hand me the khakis? They're my khakis.
It sounds like Peter Griffin. I thought you said that.
Well, he's a
my
New
khakis.
Englander.
Yeah.
He's a New Englander, so stands to reason. It's like, hey, buddy. Let me ask you a question. How long do you think you're gonna try and do that for? Huh?
Do what?
You're gonna try and act like all New Englanders sound alike. Sorry,
That
they
went
don't.
British for a second at the end. It sounded like
It's a lot like. No,
like.
no. Actually, that's actually more along the lines of
Australian or New Zealand or something.
Nah, it's actually more along the lines of President Kennedy. Like, I would like to tell you what I like. That's what I like. Sorry. All right. Here we go. Back to it.
Then the first portal in the sky.
Your brother fell before my wrath, and so shall you!
He's in a coma! I really feel we should make that clear! One of the Joes fights Pythona blindfolded because she'll make less freakazoid jokes. And surprisingly, she ends up winning.
Oh my god, how embarrassing!
Come on, Falcon, show me your moves. Oh my god, that was totally unintentional. But seriously though, you're going to die. Ah! How dare you G-rated me! Even though somehow this was okay. That was magic going into coma juice. Falcon stops the BET and uses it to fry the pods, as well as Cobra's headquarters.
Great news! Duke's come out of his coma.
Men, Doc says Duke's gonna be A-OK. Yo, Joe!
And in other news, Pushy went back to his home planet.
Look at the sky. The last of the mutation spores are burning up in orbit.
Thanks, big brother.
Who was in a coma, is no longer in a coma, and has no spiritual connections whatsoever. Epic! So that was G.I. Joe the movie. It gives exactly what G.I. Joe the movie would give. A ton of action, a ton of great animation, a ton of badass moments, and a buttload of corniness. It is so ridiculous and over the top, but that's part of the fun. How aggressively American can a cartoon be about the military while also being for kids? It's great 80s cheese for any G.I. Joe fan. So, give it a watch and enjoy a real American hero. I'm the Nostalgia Critic and
Oh, that's funny.
I'd love to do...
That's a weird ass.
War
cry, yeah. Weirdest war cry.
That it's almost along the lines of that of Xena.
Yeah, pretty much.
God, Hercules didn't need a war cry. He just had to show up. He just had to show up and just be like, "Sup? I'm gonna hit you now." It's like, hey, do the gods still hate me? Okay. God have mercy, dude. This, you see, the 80s was such a weird time.
It was a very cheesy time.
Some would say it was the Gouda cheese, though. You know?
Yeah.
It was the good kind of cheese. Because we still talk about it to this day. Even though, looking back, it's just like, what were they thinking?
It's like, it's entertaining, but it's just kind of like, nowadays it's kind of like, fucking why, though? You know what I mean? It's kind of like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's like, it's entertaining as fuck, but a lot of the decisions they make in it, you're just like, who the fuck came up with that? Know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like LSD, man. It's a hell of a drug.
So's cocaine.
Yeah.
You know, I've done LSD. I'm never doing it again.
I might do it again.
Jesus.
At some point.
Well,
when I'm really, really bored for like a day or two.
But honestly, dude, I keep thinking about the cartoons that I grew up with and everything. You know, Tiny Toons, Freakazoid, all of them. You know, all of them. Pinky and the Brain. You remember that?
Yeah. And
also growing up on Toonami, you know, the anime shows, Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, Tenchi Muyo. God. Just the craziness that I grew up with and the awesomeness that was to me, and me looking back at some of them now and just being like, huh, this isn't as epic as I remember it being. It's even more epic!
One of the things that I've never understood...
What's that?
About fiction and in basically every form of entertainment and media that this just kind of made me think about, and you naming all those shows made me think about. So what is it with the fascination and like what goes through someone's head when you decide to make a character that is some sort of anthropomorphic character? So it's like you have like the little blue floating cat thing in Dragon Ball Z, and it's like, what? Why? You have like, just any character like that. It's like what? It's like, so I made this character. It's a chicken and he talks, and it's like usually you would think that would merit a weird look from almost anyone, but there's like so many things that it's just worked fine in, and nobody really questions it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
well,
there's a movie called Rockadoodle that's
I remember
cast
Rockadoodle
basically entirely by birds, and it's like, why?
Well, yeah,
Why
birds and like it's walking and talking animals.
You can think of so many other examples, and it's just like, what was the reasoning behind those characters being what they are, rather than just a human character? Like, fucking, I was trying to think.
Don Bluth? That's my only thing I can think of. Because
like Undertale, like, how does the mental process go of like making each little character its own thing? You know, this one's a skeleton, this one's a cat person, this one's just a dog in a big suit of armor, and it's just like, it's like, I don't know, I don't understand that creative process for some reason, but I admire it. I just never really have understood it.
Well, I think it goes with just the pure creativity of the human mind, because honestly, to me, whenever I think about some of my favorite characters as a kid, like Rocko's Modern Life, a talking wallaby living in America.
Okay, so like, yeah, that stuff like that, and like he's got like a fucking cow as a best friend, and it's like
Steer.
Yeah, Steer. It's like, why? Like,
and a nervous turtle.
Yeah, and it's like, why? It's like, but it says, watch me try it right now. I'm gonna make a character called Dusty, and he's a can of air duster.
Yeah,
and you're kind of like, yeah, that sounds stupid, but it's like there's like literally Aqua Teen and Hunger Force, where the main characters are a shake, a box of fries, and a meatball.
Yeah.
So is it really that stupid? Or could it work really, really well?
And then there's BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
Who is literally a man with a horse for a head.
And I don't understand that either.
Well, it's the genre of weird. The genre of weird has always been something that has intrigued people. That's just like, okay, Toy Story, for instance. Toys that come to life. Do you know why we imagine toys coming to life? Because we, as kids, brought them to life. Mm-hmm. Taking inanimate objects or taking things
that one's
that
more understandable to me. Well, what's a little more weird than Toy Story, but kind of the same concept, is probably like something like the Brave Little Toaster.
Yeah, the Brave Little Toaster. I remember that. That one.
It's just like household appliances going on an adventure, essentially.
Well, honestly, it's humans putting emotion to an inanimate object, given that inanimate object's purpose in life. For instance, the Brave Little Toaster, the household appliances felt abandoned because their master hadn't been there in years.
Yeah.
He hadn't been there in years and years and years. And turns out they felt their master something was wrong, and their master was the reason why he wasn't there was because something was wrong, and they decided, hey, let's go find him, because they didn't want to be alone anymore,
And then, like, my final observation on this whole thing with what I've been talking about, basically, is it's interesting that sometimes it works really, really well, and then other times it just makes people go, like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Because, like, sometimes, like, with Toy Story, it works perfectly, right? Like, Brave Little Toaster, it works really well. Like, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, so some people do go, what the fuck about Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but it still works for some reason. And even, like, it's got different forms of working, because, like, in this and G.I. Joe, it's like all the terrorists are, like, snake-themed, and it's just like, what, why? And it's like, just because! And it's like, and it comes off cheesy, but fucking kind of enjoyable because of it. And then you got, like, Sausage Party, where you're just like, why the fuck? And Food Fight, where you're especially like, why the fuck?
Why is this a thing?
Yeah, and it's like, it's weird how that concept can work on so many different levels and not work on so many different levels when it's essentially the same concept all around.
Yeah.
And it's strange how it sometimes, like, I feel like if I made a character that was like Dusty and he was the air duster, it would just depend on the context that I put him in as to whether or not he would be very what the fuck, or if he would actually be like a charming character. Know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see it. He could be a charming character.
Yeah.
Me, dude, I don't know. I mean, how things work and how things are written, it really depends on how it got. Because one of Doug's favorite animated movies of all time is The Secret of Nim. Yeah. And all it is just a bunch of mice and rats and animals debating life, you know, whether, you know, science is the way forward or this mysticism that we are completely in the blind about, is that the way forward? And it's a brilliantly put together film, and it's talking rats and mice and birds. That's it.
Yeah. I liked that movie when I was a kid too.
Oh yeah, I loved it. And who's to say that, you know...
It's like you could probably tell that same story with just regular people, too. But would it even
well,
be
they
as
did.
charming
They
as
did. It was called The Tree of Life. Did you ever see The Tree of Life? If you can get past, like, the long, drawn-out opening, which is just... it's pretty much... It tries to go over, like, the birth of the universe. It, like, shows, like, the Big Bang and all this, like, all these images of space and everything. It's beautiful. But at the same time, it's just... At the same time, it takes way too long. But what it effectively tells is the story about this man thinking back on his childhood and how he was raised. His father representing the way of nature. You know, his father being abrasive. His father being very, you know, very confrontational with his choices in life. And then there's his mother, who is the way of grace. You know, pretty much telling them that do the best in life and try and do more for others than you do for yourself, and, you know, make the world a better place and all that, blah, blah, blah. And the story eventually culminates with him thinking back to his relationship that he had with, not with just his parents, but also his brothers. And you find out through the process of the story something very tragic happened, and one of the brothers died. However, it's not stated which brother is which. It doesn't show which one he is. But you find out through it that something terrible happened, and it's actually a good story, and it has some of the most striking visuals I have ever seen in my entire life. A lot of people said it's Terrence Malick is the man who directed it, and Terrence Malick for the longest time would only do one film every decade, and every time he did one, it was huge. A lot of people consider his films to be some of the best of all time. Like The Thin Red Line, when it came out, everyone said it's the best war film ever made. When Tree of Life came out, they said in terms of existentialism and in terms of you know, the arguments, you know, the philosophical arguments of nature and religion, it's one of the best films ever. And honestly, I don't know how the full creative process goes for some people out there. Me, I know my creative process, whenever I imagine stuff, whenever I imagine certain characters and actions that they take and everything, I've never done an inanimate object or a creature. But I have done characters who I have not seen very well represented versions of in media. One of my characters is he's actually, you know, instead of being you know, the ultra confidence man or, you know, the dorky loser who everybody loves, instead he's actually very abrasive because of how the world around him has treated him, and he actually sort of doesn't have any. At first you don't think he has any redeeming qualities, but then you start to see his qualities don't have to be redeeming. He doesn't have to be a redeeming person in order to have an interesting story told about him. And there's some people out there who would see that and they would say, that's stupid, that's dumb, you shouldn't write that, you shouldn't do that. But at the same time, I don't have to do what they want. I can do what I want.
Yeah.
And same thing with you wanting to tell the story of Dusty the Air Duster. You know, him serving his
purpose. I
purpose.
thought of another recent example, too, is the Palicos in Monster Hunter. Because it's like, you know, it's all people, and they fight these dinosaurs, and that's cool. But for some reason, they have cats with them, like bipedal cats that help them fight the dinosaurs. And it's just kind of like, I don't know what the line of logic there was. They're adorable. I love the cats, but I don't know what the line of logic behind it was.
Well, it's like
and
Chocobos.
I do have a book, and it was this really cool art book I bought one time, and it's called The Manga Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be just basically a method of creativity that goes off of basically essentially randomness. And all the concept is you list like types of things on one side of a graph and on another side of a graph. Like humans, cats, fish, etc. Stuff that exists, you know. Yeah. Basically, mark off a square, see where they intersect, combine those two things and make it into a new thing, like a new creature.
Interesting.
And they have a lot of really cool examples of that in that book. And I'm kind of wondering if that's sort of what a lot of this stuff is when people do this kind of thing. They're like, I want a character that's humanoid, but I don't want him to be a human. And so they just kind of randomly...
A wolf human.
You know, pick something.
A cat human.
Yeah.
An elven.
An air duster human.
An air duster.
Yeah, basically something like that.
Yeah. It doesn't make...
But yeah, this would be one thing I would be like totally open to discussing in the comments. If anybody has any insight on like creative processes, like if you've heard why that's the thing. It's one of my random thoughts that I think about when I don't know. I don't have anything better to think about. So that's why we had such a long ass conversation about it.
Yeah, and we're currently over 40 minutes in on this video.
And sorry about that.
So anyway,
so if you're still here,
if you're still here, thank you.
Feel free to discuss that further in the comments.
And also, if you all want, to see the original, video by the Nostalgia Critic, links as always are in the description down below. And as always, if you want to talk more with us, actually, hold on, let me leave a like, and I'll leave a comment down here in the comment section. See if you all can find it. And yeah, I guess until next time, signing off. I'm Nate.
I'm Nick.
And we'll see you then, everybody. Peace out.